Hello, it's Keely again. So as you saw from the title card, today's video is building the Plumbob Theater. So for the Plumbob Theater, I wanted to do something that was a little bit unique. So there's actually no theater lot, as you probably know, on The Sims. So I wanted something that my Sims could come and visit as like another storytelling or like hangout site for teen Sims, university Sims, or just as adult Sims to hang out at. Heck, even children's Sims. So I want to build a movie theater with some of the fancy and super luxurious items in the Get Famous pack. I later also ended up decorating this in a way to replace the old location of the Starlight Accolades from Studio PvP. So I kind of, in the couple times that I played through Get Famous as like a famous actress or as a famous painter or whatever I decided to be famous for, Studio PvP was kind of boring, to be honest. Like, yeah, I guess it looked kind of nice from the outside, but on the inside it was pretty boring. So I wanted something to replace that. So I went ahead and built this movie theater. So the idea again was to have somewhere super fancy, super ritzy, that glamour, the fanciness, the luxurious nature. So this is going to be the Plumbob Theater. Here I've placed it as the museum. In my real game, my regular save file, I placed it as replacement of Studio PvP, and I ended up making it an up and coming. Actually, no, I think it's called what? The hottest place or something like that. Whatever denotes that the Starlight Accolades can occur at said location. So as you can see, I'm building the outside right now, and I wanted to have it match one of the swatches of this movie marquee that was provided from Get Famous. That was the goal, at least. So here I am trying to make it work. I looked up some pictures of movie theater out exteriors online to try to inspire myself to build something somewhat realistic, and I wanted to use the stucco coloring. And here's where I decided to use the blue instead because I just thought it was more fun. So I can't say I've used stucco a lot. Something I definitely want to change in the future. I would like to build a house with some more stucco design. So here I am actually deciding how I was going to format this. And the grass looks really funky later when I go into the terrain painting. That's just the grass. It just looks funky. I don't know what other way to put it. So here I put some trim around. Since I did size up the heights of these buildings later, and I went with the blue and purple theme, as you'll see. So the goal of the Plumbob Theater, as I kind of already aforementioned, is the two buildings on the side. My goal was to make those a theater room. So using the stuff from the movie hangout pack, and like the big projection systems, I wanted to make that like your theater. So with rows of seating, and I wanted to see if I could also utilize the split level features that are in the game that I haven't really messed around with a whole bunch to make it kind of like a step down. So that no steps would actually be needed inside the theater, but that your sim could walk down like it was a movie theater where there's, a stepped appearance and people in the back can see over the people that are sitting lower in the front. So that was the goal. So here I am decorating it up to blue to the nines because, of course, everything fancy, everything luxurious. This is the it place in Del Sol Valley. So, excuse me if I said the name of the city wrong. I believe it's Del Sol Valley, right? I think so. But yeah, so that's today's build. So everything fancy, everything luxurious. Again, like always, you can find this build on my gallery account, KillyCat4. It'll be going through with the hashtag KillyCat4. And even though you'll notice that I'll change the title of this build later in the video to the Plumbob um, Pictures Theater, I changed it just the Plumbob Theater on the gallery just because I thought it was kind of repetitive and just really wordy. So I got rid of that in the end. So it's just going to be going by Plumbob Theater. So you could also find it by searching Plumbob Theater in the search bar on the gallery. And it will be by me, KillyCat4. So anyways, today's joke. We totally skipped over today's joke of the day. So the joke of the day is, so you have some scientists, okay? So you've got some scientists, they're at an archaeological site, and they're at a geological site. For those of you not familiar, an archaeological site is a site where there's a lot of fossils and things of that nature. And then geological is, stones and things like that. So now that you have the context, several scientists were at an archaeological site. One of them whispers to the other scientist, "Hey, dude, I just saw a celebrity over there." And the other scientist is like, "No, you didn't. Like, what do you mean? We're at an archaeological and geological site. Who did you see?" And the guy whispers to him and says, "I just saw blank." So think about that. Which celebrity do you think one of the scientists saw at the geological and archaeological sites? I'll tell you later in the video. This one I made up. Some of the jokes I make up myself. Some of them um, I've found through old joke books. Some of them, one of them I haven't told yet. We were talking about it at one of my sites, and we got it up as Siri because we wanted a fun joke for the time being. But yeah, so this one I actually made up. So here we go, trying to find the right lights. I ended up using those lights later, the overhead lights in the actual theater. But yeah, here I go. I must have been doing some research to figure out how to make it look more realistic. um, I originally had these windows, and then I went and looked at pictures online, and I was like, movie theaters don't really have windows. But it looks really weird to just have a building on The Sims without windows. So you'll see what I did later to make that look more like a movie theater. On the same topic of today's things that I want to talk about, let's talk about college. So, I've taken a lot of classes at this point. If you've also been to college, you've probably taken a lot of classes. You know, your gen ed classes, if you're like in an American high school, maybe if you go to school somewhere else, maybe you don't need as many general education requirements or just classes that aren't pertaining to your major. Maybe, maybe not. But the college that I go to, you have to have a significant amount of credits. I was previously looking into a different major, and I needed to take physics 1 and 2 with a lab each. College physics. So I don't like physics. Never have liked physics. Physics is a how do I put this? It's not something intuitive to me. You have to be a special person to get physics intuitively. But anyways, so I took physics in high school. I didn't really care for it. And now I'm taking physics. Well, I had been taking physics in college, and that was a hard class. Definitely hands down the hardest class I've ever taken in college. And so I remember talking to my advisor at the time, and it was something I needed. I needed physics 1 for my major, needed physics 2 for the other possible field I wanted to go into. And so my advisor was like, "Hey, look, Keely, like don't take it here." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like why wouldn't I take it here?" He's like, "No, no, no, no. The pass rate is really low. Don't take it here." And I was like, "I mean, it can't be that bad, right?" Like I feel like I'm a fairly good student. I like to think that I do well in the classroom. So I thought to myself, how bad could it really be? I thought, all right, whatever, maybe I'll just look it up. So, I do my research, my typey, and um, there's only like one community college in my area, and Physics 1 did not transfer. Guess what did though? Physics 2. So, how would I have taken Physics 1 already? Physics 1's only offered in the fall at the school that I go to. So, anyways, so that didn't work clearly because I can't take Physics 2 without having Physics 1, and that means I'd have to wait and take Physics 1 in the fall and then don't take physics for half a semester or for a whole semester and then take it in the spring somewhere or in the summer somewhere else. It just didn't make sense. So I was like, you know what, whatever. It can't be that bad. I'll just take physics at my college. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. Let me tell you, I was wrong. Totally wrong. That class was hard. That class was so hard. Physics 1, hard. Physics 2, even harder. I can tell you with certainty that I'm the kind of person that will crack open a textbook if I buy it, and I will look through it. Will I read all of it? No. But will I actually look in it and do things with it? Yes. Yes, I will. Unless it proves to be no use to me. I can say with certainty that the Physics 1 and 2 textbooks written by the instructors that I had, I read the entire book. I read that book from front to cover. I read the cover. I read every single page in that book. I annotated every page in that Physics 2 textbook. Every page. That's the only way I made it through. That class was really hard. I mean, I went to office hours multiple times a week. I'm just trying to make it through. People were failing left and right. It was a hard course. A hard course. And sometimes I think about it and I thought, man, what about all the wasted time? The time I will never get back in my life that I spent learning physics 1 and 2 because it doesn't really pertain to my major or my future profession. And I think to myself, sometimes you just have to make yourself feel a little bit better inside because when you've spent so much time on something that was difficult and that you're never going to use, you have to rationalize the amount of time that you've spent on something else. You know what I mean? So sometimes I like to pull this little joke. So I'll go up to people people with glasses. We learned about lenses and optics and things like that in physics too, and lenses and all that kind of stuff. So I like to go for people that have glasses on them. I like to look at them from the side, and I try to guess which type of glasses they have or which type of prescription they need. And as you can see right there, that's how I dealt with the windows situation. Just put a wall up. Good old insert a wall. Anyways, back to our physics story. Well, just kidding. Let's go back to this for a second. Here's where I'm trying to figure out how to do the different leveled floorings. And as you can see, I'm going to struggle with this majorly, but I end up figuring it out. And that's what matters, everybody. Just keep trying. You can figure it out. Back to physics. You can also figure that out too if you want. It is harder though than this. So anyways, so I like to go up to people and look at their eyeglasses from the side, and I'll be like, yeah, so I'm gonna take a guess here. Can you not see far away? And they'll just look at me and they'll be like, what do you like? What does it have to do with anything? And I was like, well, I'm just taking a look at your glasses here, and I just have a hunch that you can't see far away. And most times I'm correct, except for if you have bifocals. I can't read that one. But I like to go up to people and do that because, part of me needs to get some type of, satisfaction out of the fact that I spent a year learning about physics. I need some type of use to come to this information. Otherwise, what do I do with it? What do I do with this information? You know what I mean? It's just there in my brain, taking up space. So let me tell you the trick. So we talked about different types of lenses, okay? So we talked about diverging lenses and converging lenses. So it talks about the rays of light. I'm not going to bore you to death, but this is the gist of it. Diverging lenses diverge light. So basically it moves light away. So it doesn't come to a point. It goes away from a point. So that means that diverging lenses are thinner in the middle and thicker at the sides. So if you want to see if someone is wearing diverging lenses, you can look from the side and see if their lenses are thicker on the outside, on the edges, than they are on the middle. And that's how you know someone has diverging lenses. If someone seems to have a thicker inner surface to their lens than an outer surface, that means that they have converging lenses. So that brings rays of light together. So now let me tell you why that's important. So diverging lenses are for when you can't see far away. So let's think about this. This is also a thought process for me because I took physics 2, how many semesters ago? 2 semesters ago. So this is a refresher for me to make sure I get knowledge out of this course that I had to take and then found out I didn't have to take, but that's a story for another day. So diverging lenses. So diverging lenses make the image that you're seeing. So they take whatever you see and they create this image through the lens, through the rays of light and all this kind of stuff. This is a very generalized form of this. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments again. I am not a physics major. This is just what I took from physics 2. So what happens is it makes the image closer but smaller, which you might think to yourself, that doesn't make any sense. Normally when an image is closer, it's larger. I know it doesn't make any sense. It's physics. Let's just leave it at that. So the image is closer but smaller. And the reasoning for that is if you can't see far away, so if you're nearsighted, you can't see far away. I'm nearsighted, I can't see far away. So small text reading from far away, I need glasses. What type of glasses do I have? I have diverging lenses. It all works together. So because of that, the lenses work to diverge the light to make the image appear smaller and closer. That way I can see it. Because I can see up close, the glasses offer me an image in a region that I can see. So that's essentially how glasses work for people who are nearsighted. If you're farsighted, you have converging lenses. So what happens with converging lenses, again, those are the ones that are thicker in the middle and thinner on the outsides, which you may or may not be able to tell depending on how strong someone's prescription is. This, in turn, these people can see far away, but they can't see close up. So the goal for these glasses is instead to make the image, or take what you see as the light passes through the lens, and make the image, or what the eye can see, you want it to be bigger but farther away, which again doesn't make sense, right? You think normally when something's farther away, it's smaller. Well, this is physics and it doesn't make sense. But if you drew a ray diagram, it would probably make sense. I don't care to draw you a ray diagram, and you probably don't care about a ray diagram. So anyways, so what happens is because you are farsighted and you can see far away, you have these converging lenses. So what it does is it makes the image, again, like I said, bigger but farther away. Because you can see far away, it manipulates the image, or it manipulates what you're seeing into the field of vision that you can see. And that's glasses. That's very glasses. That's glasses on a very basic sense. And that's how they work. So, on this note, our physics professor told us a funny story about, like those survival shows or whatever, that they're like, oh, how are we gonna get found? We're on a deserted island, blah 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 blah. And then somebody brings out their glasses, and they start a fire by having the sun go through the lenses, and woo, fire, all that kind of stuff. All right. Well, our professor was telling us a story about how he was watching the show years and years ago, and they had this same kind of situation happen where the character started a fire using their glasses, and being the physics professor that my professor was, looks at the lens and says, well, that's not right. That's physically not possible. It's physically not possible. The only way for you to do that, to actually concentrate rays of the sun, the light rays, through a pair of glasses, through a lens, to actually create a fire, is you have to have converging lenses. Now stay with me. Converging lenses. So converging means that the rays are going to be brought together in a direct path. So that makes sense. If you're taking all these rays that are coming off of the sun and you're converging them into one singular point, that would make sense. You're directing all the rays to the same point. That point theoretically could get warmer, you have more rays there, and theoretically could start a fire. The problem is, the people in this show were using diverging lenses. If you're using diverging lenses, you're making the sun rays go in multiple different directions, which would not concentrate the light, which would not cause a fire to start. So he told us that story. It was funny to us at the time because, as you know, we were college students struggling through physics too, and that was a joke that we understood, sadly, after many, many hours of us struggling to learn physics too. So that is your crash course into lenses and the magic of glasses. Ta-da! So that makes me feel useful inside, to know that my knowledge did not go to waste, maybe. I like to tell that anecdotal story because it makes me feel like I at least did something with the knowledge that I had to pay for in school, Somebody had to pay for that class, so I at least wanted to get knowledge out of the course that I had to take. But yeah, Physics 2 was quite interesting, definitely harder than Physics 1. Physics 1 is all about forces in motion, things that you can see in your daily life. So like what happens when you drop a ball from a height? How long does it take? It's your stereotypical things. When you think about physics, high school physics, or you think about what you see in the daily life, like whenever you turn in your car, a Physics 1 concept. For you to turn your net force, or the total effect of the force that's having on the forces or interactions, but still, that net force needs to be directed centerward. So if you're turning in a circle, you need the net force to always be directed towards the center of the circle. If let's just say you're doing donuts in a parking lot, you need the net force to always be centered so you can turn. Otherwise, you'll just keep going straight. If your net force, or your total effect of force, and you're going north, you're just going to keep going north. If you want to turn, your force has to be directed towards the center point. So if you're going north, maybe, and you're turning left, your force would have to be directed towards the west. But then as you move, you need that force to continually be turned centerward, not just west. Otherwise, you would just start going northwest or west once you completely get out of the northward component. So again, feel free to correct me in the comments if I misspoke about anything about forces. Again, I am just a novice at this. I just like to think that I know a couple things and learned something from my very intensive physics course that I read several 500-page textbooks for. Never spent more time on anything in my life other than that class. 7 hours a week. Between labs, yeah, just between lab and lecture, I spent 7 hours a week in class. So it brings me solace to know, and it brings me some security to know that I don't forget everything from then, because that was a difficult time. But anyways, beyond my physics struggles, we can talk about how lenses work again another time if anyone is interested. Although I have a feeling that no one is probably interested about how lenses work other than me, because I had to learn about lenses. But we talked about polarizing sunglasses as well. Interesting concept. About how different things. So like your computer screen, there's things called polarized and unpolarized light, and the sun is one version, light from your computer is another version, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, again, I don't remember this concept as well, but I believe when you have unpolarized light, which I believe is what the sun is, it comes from multiple directions. You have rays coming from so many different directions, where polarized is coming from one direction. So if you use a type of filter, you can filter light out. So essentially you can have a filter, and if you turn it to accommodate and remove the rays that are coming towards you from something that is polarized, so if the light's only coming in one direction and you use a polarizing lens to block out that particular direction of light, you won't see anything. It'll just be dark because you've literally filtered out the one direction of light that it's coming. Polarizing sunglasses can help to try to reduce glare and things like that, since sunlight is polarized and is coming in a lot of different directions, and try to reduce that glare so you can see better. But yeah, so that's my TED talk about physics for right now. If you enjoyed this video of me talking about physics, um, I'm not a physics guru, as you can see. If you are, you probably found multiple inaccuracies in my comments here. Feel free to let me know. It's always good to learn. But yeah, if you're interested in physics, good for you. Great job. We need more people interested in physics. Physics is important. It's just not for me. So thank you for sticking with me if you did. If not, hopefully you enjoyed watching me build this luxurious theater as I talked about it. So as you can see at this point, the whole time that I ranted on about physics, we've got both of our theaters done with our stepwise fashion, with the flooring that's slowly leveled down. So this is play tested as well, so your Sims can properly walk from the top level to the bottom level, and they can go through the staircases up to the second floor, and they can also go through the doors to ascend and descend in the theater rooms. So here's where I made it super fancy, because again, this could just be your regular theater. Um, you know, your average Joe Sims could come here and watch their movie, and then if not, your fancy Sims could also come here. The idea is that it's a theater, you know, so it's fancy, and you can come and there can be showings here. So maybe celebrities show up for the first showing of a show, and there is a banquet area I'm going to build upstairs to replace Studio PvP, as I mentioned earlier, because I thought it was kind of bland. I thought it was kind of boring. I wanted something different. Or you could also just use that as like a fundraising room or as like a party room, since this is a generic lot. So it could function as your Starlight Accolades location, and then also it could be your regular theater for your regular people when it's not hosting the Starlight Accolades, and you could just throw parties here and things like that. I already tested out. I brought my Sims here. It was great. They had a great time. They watched a little movie, and unfortunately, while they were there, actually, someone died at the theater when I placed this in my regular save file. So I just have some poor random person's like urn in my Sims inventory because I couldn't just leave it at the theater. Like people were just crying at the theater. Like my Sims were just trying to watch a movie, and someone just died. Some Sim just like kicked it right while they were watching. They were trying to walk through the door. So that was a whole nother task. But here we go, trying to make it fancy, you know, the black and white and teal vibe. Um, you know, all your movie stars and the fancy paintings. And I threw in the popcorn because I thought that'd be super fun. So we have like our fake little like ticket booth desks there, and we have our popcorn thing. So my Sims were also able to functionally make popcorn and eat the popcorn while they were at the theater. So that was fun. So you could make your own popcorn and watch a movie while you come here. Here's the banquet area. Um, so here I go. I tried to use a bunch of high school year stuff. I love the prom details. They're so pretty. And I didn't realize how accurate it was for people to say that prom was too short. It is way too short when you actually try to play it in your game. So I wanted to use these items because I thought they were fancy. They'd be a perfect area for a nice ritzy Starlight Accolades, or for just like a rentable space that your Sims could have a fancy gathering at. Which is also why I didn't put the star level or like the celebrity level door for the grand staircase, because I want it to be accessible for all. You could always just put a fence up or put up the gate if you decide to host Starlight Accolades here and you didn't want those pesky fans in the way. So this has all the details. You know, we've got the punch bowl, we've got a trash can, can't forget that. Got all our boom boxes, a nice bar, and I also put in the little picture booth there because I think that's a really cute idea. You can't actually vote with the prom little desk there, but I thought it would be a cute item to think that, you know, you could pretend that that's where they were getting the votes from for the different Starlight accolades awards. Um, and here I go, putting some more details up. I couldn't quite decide, as you can see, how I want to do this until I put up the little banners. Yeah, I don't really normally use these ritzy items, so super fun to build that. Theoretically, if you want, I also did not end up editing the 2 rooms on the left and right, which was right above the theater. So theoretically, you could expand your banquet hall if you wanted to, or add multiple rooms for the banquet, or you could add like a lounge or something else. I just left those empty because I thought that it was fine as it was. It had everything you needed for your Starlight accolades, and it had all the fancy chairs and tables, and I put in plenty of places for your Sims to sit with these little ottomans, music to listen to. I really like the prom music too. I really like a lot of things though, as you probably noticed. There's a lot of things that I like. Um, but yeah, so I put this in. I actually did take my sim once I posted this in my regular game, my regular save file of my game. I actually did take my sim here and they watched one of the Starlight accolades. They didn't win anything because they weren't really a celebrity. I think they were like a level 1 celebrity, but I brought them there to watch it and it was nice. Most of the people sat in little chairs or on the ottomans, and it functioned really well as a Starlight accolades site. People came up, the microphone was functional, and it did work as a Starlight's accolades um, site. So something to keep in mind. As I finish up the detailing here and try to figure out which fancy paintings I would like in here, let's rewind back to our joke from earlier before I went on a physics rant. For those of you that did not skip ahead, I went on you know that I went on that physics rant not too long ago. Hopefully you'll learn something from that. Maybe you can use that. Maybe that's your new party trick, you know, trying to guess people's glasses or seeing impairments, the importance of glasses. Anyways, back to our joke. So, though, you know, we had those several scientists at the archaeological and geological site, and the one like taps the other on the shoulder and it's like, hey, I just saw a celebrity. And the guy's like, no, you didn't. And he's like, no, I totally did. And he's like, all right, sure. Who did you see? And he's like, well, I saw The Rock. So bad. So bad. They saw The Rock. None other than The Rock, you know, Dwayne Johnson himself. So yeah. Do with that joke what you will. As you can see, I kept trying to get rid of those, but then it got rid of the border around there. So if you don't really care that much about the border on the inside, you could leave it so the outside has a border. If not, you could just delete it and then you don't have to worry about the border on the inside. It's just because I did the stairs and the grand staircase and got rid of the bottom flooring that it was giving me some issues. Here's where I brought up the debug menu because what I wanted to do was, I wanted to do this on the bottom floor, but I didn't quite like how it looked, is I wanted to put in the Starlight Accolade Awards. So I wanted to have several of the different trophies to like better exemplify the fact that this is somewhere that hosts the Starlight Accolades. There's like a bunch of them. I wanted a bunch of them on the wall. I wanted them on a shelf to look all pretty. And so for a while I had to search through debug religiously to try to find where these items were. Took me a couple goes. As you can see, I'm just scrolling and scrolling for items until I finally found them. So here we go. We just place them all over the floor, you know, just make a mess of it. And yeah, I fooled around with that for a little bit, and then I gave up. But yeah. So as you can see, we're gonna get one of those shelves that I had from earlier, and I placed down a bunch of the awards, so then it kind of filled the area in, and I wanted it to really give that ritzy award feel. So as you can see, some of the awards of people that have frequented this place in the past. The good old Starlight accolades that celebrities from years past have won. Alright, so hopefully you enjoyed today's build. As I said again already, this build's available on the gallery, KayleeCat4. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and have a great day. See you in the next one.